All right, I want to use relationships to make that point. So let's look at this. This is the ideal build for your life. Everybody see it okay? I'm going to somehow move this over here so you guys can see from that side. All right, so spiritual, social, interpersonal, emotional, and the other. Let's just start. Let's start where the world starts, shall we? This is where the world starts. They jump straight to the physical, one flesh business. They don't think of one flesh, but this is what it's talking about. They think about the physical aspect of a relationship, the intimacy that goes into a relationship. It's really not intimate at all, but this is where they go, okay? And really the world likes to talk about being liberal-minded, progressive, openness, tolerant, okay? You've heard these words before? Yes, okay? And really, they talk about they're so open-minded, but really all they're talking about is this. It's actually very focused. If your identity, if your way that you look at life, if the way you immediately categorize others, if the most important thing about you has to do with sexual things, you're actually very narrow-minded. Let me just leave that there. Okay? So this is where the world begins. And everything in the world, I mean, you just turn on the news, open up your browser and start to read all the latest things that are happening that everybody's arguing and griping about, and it's all going to revolve around sexual things. You think about it. Sexual freedom, abortion rights, LGBTQIA, whatever the other parts of the alphabet soup are. There's all kinds of things that people claim to be, and all these labels and identities they want to put on themselves and on others. Okay? I'm just a man who loves a woman, but I get called cis male or whatever it is. Right? It's like they made up a word for me. It's like I'm a man. That's all that I am. Everything gets put through this filter. Everything. This is very narrow-minded. For all the talk of openness and, we just accept, no, you're actually very, very narrow-minded. This is how you see everything. This is where all your value is. This is where your identity as a person is. If you took that away, you'd be lost. Like I knew you're lost now, but we'll get there. We'll get there. That's because this is appetite. This is appetite. This is pleasure. Okay? This is physical, and let's just face it, we all live in physical bodies. That's really the first thing that we notice most of the time, and so we put this at the top of the priority list, and it's not. It's the last thing, but the world puts it first. You simply can't take all the fullness that life has and put it inside of this. You can't. You can't take everything that's in your life that's valuable and wrap it up in this. You can't do it. Okay? You can't focus everything through that. That is not the right lens. Now, let's talk about how this works, because in real life it plays out like this. You have a boy who meets a girl, and they're attracted to each other. And we see this in the movies all the time. They think, I'm attracted to you, I'm attracted to you. Let's see if we have compatibility. So they go home and they get in bed together. Okay? And that was fun. That was amazing. Oh, it's so romantic, isn't it? And the problem is that as amazing it is, you can't really separate it from this one. Emotional. We'd like to think that you can. You'd like to think that it's just a physical act and it was fun, but now it's over. No, there's actually some emotion that's attached to it also. Especially if you really liked them and you had a really good time, you're going to want to get together again. And at some point, emotions get to be involved. Okay, so we're just going to put those there because those two things are really inseparable. And when this happens, okay, when this happens, you'll see two people just fall in love. And I'm going to put air quotes around it. Fall in love. All right? And you'll see, they'll start thinking things like, this person really gets me. I mean, it's better than anybody else I've ever known. They get me like nobody else. And they understand me and I understand them. I mean, we have chemistry. Yeah, you do have chemistry. It's called dopamine. And it happens to everybody when they fall in love. Okay? Now, it's actual chemistry. It's hormones and chemicals in your body that's being released. And this high, you can go and you can study the psychology magazines and all the science articles and everything, and you'll learn that this effect, this dopamine effect where you literally are high, so you see them as more pretty or more handsome than what they really are. Okay? Their voice sounds more attractive than what it really is. You don't see their flaws. You only see wonderful, beautiful things because you are high. Literally. You're high. And it's wonderful, isn't it? Who's been in love? Yeah. Oh, is it wonderful? Yes. We love that. It's great. It's a wonderful, joyful feeling. And so you're literally high. Well, this high lasts anywhere from 6 weeks to 18 months. You see the problem? Okay, now don't get ahead of me, but there's going to be a problem. Okay? 6 weeks to 18 months, you're not thinking straight because you're on drugs. Literally. Now, it's drugs that you make. You're your own drug dealer, but still, you're on drugs. Now, when you're on drugs, they don't let you drive. Okay? You don't get to sign financial documents, none of that. But if you're in love, they let you do all kinds of stuff, and you're high. Okay? So I'm just telling you now, before you get high, okay, you're not going to be thinking straight. And this is what happens to people. They get chemistry. You're visually impaired. You have a false image of who they are. You have a false image of intimacy. It's really infatuation. And so 6 weeks to 18 months, okay, somewhere in there, the emotional piece starts to fade. Now, the problem is that people like to rush things along. And so while they're still high, while they're still in this phase, they're thinking that they get to know each other. They think they are. Like, oh, just everything he does is wonderful, and everything she does is so beautiful, and so on. But at some point, that fades. The high leaves, and you really have to start to get to know each other. Then you start to figure out they make weird noises when they chew. They snore loudly, like 18 chainsaws. Okay? You realize, wow, she's really rude to the servers. Like, that's not right. And he has a bit of a temper. You start to see these things, but you're already bonded, and it's not healthy, but you're bonded, and there's some emotion involved, and so you're trying to get through those interpersonal things that are starting to annoy you. Okay, and normally right here is kind of where it starts to break down. Okay, it starts to break down. It's like, it's not really the same anymore, and you're really starting to annoy me. So they break up, and then they start the process over again with somebody else. And then they break up, and they start the process over again with somebody else. You know anybody like this? Don't raise your hand. Don't look at anybody. Okay. All right. Now, in the middle of all of this, sometimes people just kind of rush through things. In the middle of all these kinds of things, sometimes they're still high, sometimes they're not. Their friends get involved. And oh my goodness, the social part of things. This is, you bring these people into your high, you bring them into your social circles, and your friends are looking at you like, what are you doing? Your parents are like, nah, that's not it. I thought we raised you different. Okay. You see, this is so true to life. Okay. And so but maybe you're just rushing. You're not really listening to your friends. You're not doing any of these things because you're high still. Okay. And then it all starts to kind of wear off, and you've moved in together, and your family, your lives are so intertwined, and your friends don't really like them, but they're kind of putting up with them, and all of this, and it just seems like it's all coming apart. It just seems like, man, this isn't really built very well. So I know, the solution, we need to get spiritual. We got to go to church and get married. Oh, we got to get married. That's going to solve all the problems, isn't it? We got to get married. Now, all the things all the things that we have done, we're asking God to bless. God, bless our mess. And God begins to say, well, this is how you should live your life. Here's the things that's important to me. And if you have not built it his way, all the good things that he says that you should be building your life with will feel like a burden.
Come on. That's good.
They don't feel like something you can rest on. It doesn't feel something you can have peace with. It just feels heavy. That's because that little guy down there is not a good foundation for any of this. And everything at some point is going to come apart. It's going to come apart. Uh-oh. Yeah, everything comes apart. Chemistry, falling in love, all that will break under the weight of all these things. They simply will. Now, we can say the good things. We can say the right things. You got spiritual stuff stacked on top of stuff where you're like, well, I want to do what God says. I'm a Christian and all. But your actions reveal something very different. And maybe right now you're living this. Maybe you're looking at this going, you're right in my story, Pastor Ben. It's not your story. It's the whole world's story. I didn't go and go through your Facebook and pull up your history. I'm just telling you how people do it. So you might be living this right now, okay? And if you are, you need to stop. If you're not married, it's time to start rebuilding these things. You need to move out, get away from each other, start dating each other again, rebuild these things. If you're married and you realize, whoa, we did this completely backwards, and we just got to end this. No, that's not what I'm saying, okay? God is a restorer and a healer, and he's into renewal and restoration and redemption. He can help you rebuild everything the right way once you recognize you built it the wrong way, okay? Does that take work? It does. But let's talk about how to build it correctly, shall we? So let's just do that. Now, let me get some of these pieces over here. This is why I dressed a little more comfortably today. I thought about wearing a sports coat and all that, but I thought, no, I don't need to do that with this. All right, I got to arrange this in such a way. Okay, so let's do this the right way, shall we? The very first thing, you know this, you saw this at the beginning, it's this right here. Spiritual. Let's get spiritual. Okay, that was for free. All right. Your faith has to be big enough you can rest on it. Think on that for a second. My faith has to be big enough I can invite my wife to sit next to me. My faith has to be big enough to bring my kids alongside me. My faith has to be big enough to do that. Little faith, not going to be you got to make sure you're firm in your faith. And that's why my favorite author, A.W. Tozer, he said that when you think about God, that's the most important thing about you. What you think about when you think about God is the most important thing about you, because your faith is literally the most. Everything is built on it. Everything is built on it. If you build on anything else, you're going to be in trouble. And if your faith's not big enough, you're going to be in trouble. You need to have a firm, solid foundation. You need to know what you believe about God and why you believe it.